What's up, y'all? Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm Robert Durden, and this will be my last episode for the day, probably. I want to address an observation that was made about me, or a question that was given to me on Savvy's show yesterday, and I believe that that was a very poignant observation. This person said, Rob, I'm not so sure that Kyle Kulinski changed his rhetoric so much when the Democrats got into office as it was you evolved past him, and he failed to change his rhetoric from what he was doing during the Trump years. And I think that actually is correct. I have been saying that he had like a drastic turn in his rhetoric when Biden took office. Now, there was a little bit. He does a lot less ripping apart of the Democrats, unless it's just Kirsten Sinema and Manchin. He doesn't go after the squad at all for anything. But you're right. I think what actually happened, and the real beef I have with Kyle, is that he was challenging power and going after the people in power when the Republicans were in power. So I had spent 4 years listening to him going, well, yeah, he's attacking the right people. He's going after Trump, who's a buffoon. He's going after Mitch McConnell. He's going after these really evil people. And I got used to him doing that, and where my real frustration lies is that when Biden took office, he didn't change gears and start going after Biden and Schumer and Pelosi and the squad the way that he went after all of those Republicans back when they were in power. So that tells you that he's just like TYT in that he's just a Republican demonizer, and that's where my frustration lies, because now he's still blaming all of the people that he used to blame, but those people are no longer in power. And Kyle also, conveniently, never goes after the squad, even though he has the clout and the reputation and the personal relationship with them, because he got a lot of these people elected with the Justice Democrats. He could absolutely influence them and critique them, but he doesn't along the way. So you're right. I think you're right, and I'm going to change my mind. You're allowed to do that in Political Fight Club. You're right. I think Kyle was probably always like this, which is I shouldn't have been giving him the benefit of the doubt. He was always going after the Republicans and the right wing necessarily. So it doesn't matter who's in office. And if that's the case, Kyle's just waiting for Trump to win in 2024 so he can stay relevant. Nothing would be better for Kyle's and indeed TYT's and CNN's views than for Trump to be reelected in 2024. Now, I'm not saying that has anything to do with the reason they're running cover for the Democrats so that they will eventually, fail so that they will lose the midterms and then eventually lose Trump. I'm not implying any of that stuff. Maybe it's in their plan, but it would be mighty convenient for Kyle Kulinski and TYT for Trump to win again, because all they know how to do is really just kind of go after goofy-ass Republicans. Now, how will my rhetoric change? I'll tell you. And first, it requires me to predict what I think the squad is going to start doing and what the Democrats are going to start doing when they lose the House or the Senate or both. I imagine the squad will get much less fire from me because they will no longer have any power to vote as a block if they lose the House or the Senate. I imagine that their rhetoric will change in a way where Pelosi will now have her scapegoat, and she'll go, okay, AOC, you're off your leash now. You guys can go back to talking about Medicare for all and all of the progressive things that you lie to all your constituents about. But now you just say, we want these things, but it's the Republicans who are standing in the way of it. So they will likely be big, bad firebrands again, lying to their constituents through their teeth about how they care about progressive values, because they no longer have the majority to actually get those progressive values done. So therefore, the Democratic Party's off the hook. They can scapegoat the Republicans, and they will do so. This is exactly what's going to happen when the midterms are lost. You'll see the squad make a drastic shift back towards acting like firebrands to dupe their constituents and people that are still following them, their stands, into thinking that they are back to fighting for the things that got them popularity in the first place. It's all fake, by the way. So what I will do is I will point out every lie that they say, and I will remind everybody what they did for the first 2 years, because I got it all up here and I've got it all documented on my YouTube channel. I will point out how they're hypocrites the entire time, but I won't go after them quite so hard, or I won't have to go after them quite so hard, because they don't have any power. My rhetoric will largely be aimed at Joe Biden for the second 2 years, because he has to do executive orders. That's the only thing anything that can be done the second 2 years of the presidency must be done via executive order, because Congress it's gridlocked at best. At worst, Joe Biden passes a whole bunch of Republican legislation, which that might also happen too, because he's really a Republican. So I'm going to really go hard on Joe Biden to pass executive orders that are progressive and to get him to stand steadfast and tell the Republicans to go fuck themselves when they probably take the Senate and the House and are forcing a bunch of bills onto his desk that are horrible. So that's how my rhetoric will shift. But I'm giving you guys a heads up. My rhetoric shifts according to who I believe I can leverage, who I believe I can get in the ear of, who I believe I can shame into doing something good. But if the Democrats, lose the House, I won't have to focus so hard on Nancy Pelosi because I'll be like, no, that they don't really have any power. And let's say they lose the House, I'll go after House Republicans all the time. They lose the Senate, I'm gonna be eating Mitch McConnell alive like a fucking veal every day. And you guys have seen him. He looks kind of like a veal. He's like that creature in the basement of Pan's Labyrinth without its glasses on. Have you seen that picture of Mitch McConnell without his glasses? It's like, yeah, I'm gonna go after him hard, but he's not in power right now. So why would I do that? Ask Kyle Kulinski. I mean, apparently he likes to go after Republicans like fucking crazy when they have no power. That tells you everything you need to know about Kyle. And my rhetoric will shift, which will tell you a lot about me, about what I want to do and how I go after people and how I choose my targets. So keep fighting the good fight out there, guys. Go back and watch my last video about the 10 executive orders that Joe Biden can do once we inevitably lose the House and the Senate. This bill was so bad that is about to pass, about $1.75 trillion. It's so bad, it's almost impossible for the Democrats to win either House or either part of Congress. I would say the chances are 1% or less. But what do I know? I don't really predict things very well on this show, do I? Keep fighting the good fight out there, guys. I love you. I'll talk to you later.